So, anyways, so let's talk a little bit about detoxification. And detoxification has different parts to it. And I want to talk about, the fact that when we do detoxification, we have to mobilize the toxins out of the storage area because the body will store um, things out of circulation so that they're not quite as bad. But the way toxins really enter the body is they enter through the lungs, so through breathing, the air that we breathe and our animals breathe, through the skin, and also through the foods that we eat. And all of these toxins have to go through the liver in order to be processed, and then they will be eliminated again through the skin, through the kidneys, through the GI tract, but also a little bit through the lungs. So we have to make sure that all of this can work properly, because if we have any issues in the liver, for example, of processing things, or we have issues with the elimination of toxins, we end up with excess toxins in the body, and they have to be stored somewhere. And we have different toxins. We have fat-soluble toxins and we have water-soluble toxins. And the fat-soluble toxins, they get stored in fatty tissues, including fat cells. So, for example, if you have an animal that is overweight, it probably will have quite a bit of toxins also stored in that. And as we get them to lose weight, it's particularly important to take care of the elimination pathways and the liver and such, because we have more toxins that are being released. But we can also have toxins in the bone marrow, in the liver, in the central nervous system, including the brain. Hormone glands, for example, are very fatty tissues, and I see a lot of dogs and cats that have issues with the adrenal glands, which then makes them more prone to having allergies because they're not making quite enough cortisol, or they're not making enough thyroid hormones. So these fat-soluble toxins, they get pulled out of circulation, but they're not inert, so they're still going to cause issues, but they're not giving the actual, strong symptoms of acute intoxication, such as when, for example, you get your amalgam removed in your mouth. There can be acute intoxication because there's a huge amount of mercury that is being released. So, with the toxins that we're exposed to, because it's more of a gradual increase in toxins or gradual intake of toxins, the body is very good at shuttling them away from circulation so that we don't end up with acute toxicity. And then water-soluble toxins, they usually get stored in joints, blood, tissues, and muscles. And so when we do have these toxic things, stored everywhere in the body, we can end up with skin problems, allergies, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, chronic digestive issues, cancer, as I mentioned already, hormone imbalance, inflammation, neurologic disorders, obesity, weight gain, fatigue, arthritis, joint pain, chronic infection. So you name it. Everything kind of leads back to toxicity. And for those of you who have read my book already, you know that there are really only two causes of disease. And those causes are toxins or a deficiency in nutrients. And all of these lead to a malfunctioning of cells, which is really the underlying process that's happening. So we call that diabetes, or we call it hypothyroidism, or we call it joint pain. It's all the same. It's an underlying malfunctioning of cells. So how does the liver work with detoxification? So the liver processes toxins in two phases, and we have toxins that are mostly fat-soluble toxins. Let's just look at the fat-soluble toxins, because there are definitely a lot of those. And these fat-soluble toxins, they have to be converted into water-soluble toxins so that they can be removed from the body through the gallbladder, the kidneys, and bile. That is misspelled. I'm going to have to fix that. And then it goes out through the bowel or the urine. So in phase one, what happens is the fat-soluble toxins are converted through the use of B vitamins, glutathione, which is a very important enzyme for detoxification, and acetylcysteine. It also uses vitamin A, C, D3, vitamin E, and then bioflavonoids, including quercetin and others, and then milk thistle. So those are all good for supporting phase one. For phase two, the nutrients that can be useful are amino acids, such as these right here, including taurine. And then for garlic, we can also use garlic, egg, cabbage, and cauliflower and such, because they are high in sulfurs and they help with the detoxification or with the phase two, MSM as well, and then N-acetylcysteine again as well. So that's basically what happens in the liver. And then it gets, it goes into the bile and then out through the bowels. So that's kind of the liver detoxification.